To paint with the brush, first of all, you would select the paintbrush tool. Next, you would want to see what brushes are available. If you go to Window, scroll down to Brushes, and open the panel, you'll see a series of default brushes. In the top corner, there's a drop-down menu that allows you to go to Open Brush Library, and there are many more packs of brushes that you can explore. So for instance, if we went to Artistic and go to Paintbrush, you would get a whole new palette or panel of brushes to work with. You can open as many or as few as you would like, but you should explore the brushes so that when you are painting, you have an idea of what is available to you. So, if I selected this particular brush, just draw a quick pattern, you notice that the brush stroke itself is a thin to wide to thin, and then it gets a little wider again at the end. So if I simply draw across, it looks very much like what is in the panel. But if I use it to create some sort of shape or with the line, that is how it would translate. If you'll notice, the color of the brush is the same color set in stroke. So if you want to change the color of your brush, you simply double click on the stroke and select click OK. Or of course you could have come up here to the color panel and selected the stroke and again picked what color you want to use. So now when I paint with my brush, the colors all reflect the stroke color. If I wanted to go back and change the color of a brush stroke, I could simply select it. I could either take the eyedropper tool and collect color from something else, or I could have again gone back to stroke, picked a new color and the shader tint and changed it. In addition to all the panels or palettes of brush strokes available to you in Illustrator, you can also create your own. To do this, you have to first create something to make a brush with. So for instance, this stroke here that has been turned into a brush, you would create your own stroke. Let me get rid of all of these. And let's say we wanted to create just a random shape. Maybe it's even a letter. Okay. Now that has a stylized or artistic brush applied to it. I could simply take it back to a standard line using a point brush. And from here, I can simply drag it right into the brush panel, which generates a new brush window. And at this moment, there are 3 available ways to create your brush. So first, scatter brush. Let's see what happens. Click OK. And there's lots of settings. So as this shape scatters along a line, do you want it to stay at a fixed size, change randomly, change based on the pressure or how long you hold the mouse down, etc. You can adjust the size, so it's not this full size. You could, well first let's actually just try it at the size without changing any settings. So it's placed this symbol or brush in here. Oops. And I'm going to select the brush, paintbrush, and I'm going to use, stab that. Okay. I am going to select the brush, select this new brush that I've created, and watch me create a line. Okay, it's taking it at the exact same size. I'm going to edit that brush. Double click. Let's change the size first of all, because we don't want this massive brush. At least I don't. And it asks me, do I want to apply this change to what I've already created with that brush? And I'm going to say leave strokes. No, I don't want to. So we can compare. So let's try this again. Look at that. Now, the brush is really spread out. That might be what you want, or double click, go back and adjust your spacing. Maybe you want them much closer together, maybe you want them much further apart. All these settings are going to be dependent on what you're trying to do. Again, I'll leave the stroke so we can compare. See, now much closer together. Okay, there are a lot of options for you to explore inside this brushes panel. And I encourage you to go back and try adjusting the scatter pattern of your design within the line or stroke you create. And I encourage you to play with the rotation. These are all set and fixed at the moment. Also, which we've overlooked, click preview and it will allow you to see what effect, if any, changes have. I'm going to undo preview because I don't like what I just did, and I'm going to cancel out of it. This brush that we've just created is called a scatter brush. And let's move on now to a new sort of brush. We'll copy, paste. You can use the same shape for your brush, or you can create a new one. That's up to you. This time, let's go for an art brush. A whole new panel of different options. Same idea though. You have a width setting. Do you want to keep the width as it is? Well, let's actually try this brush without making changes first. So again, we'll go to the brush. And if you'll notice, this time when it was added as an art brush, it's added down here. So when I draw, oops, let's select the brush. Again, make sure you deselect everything before you select an actual brush in your panel, or it changes, of course, as you keep seeing me do. Okay, so when I click and drag out, this art brush becomes that full stroke. Well, let's see what happens if I go round and round. Look at that. I get this very stylized, abstract. Could be good for something. Now, same as before, let me get rid of a couple of these. Same as before, you can go in and edit the options of this art brush by double clicking. And now you can start to explore, again, width with different settings, and use the slider, scale, stretch between guides. I encourage you to try all of these. Changing the direction. Right now it's held in this up and down position. Colorizing, flipping. Let's see what happens if I hit preview and flip. They all turn the other direction. I encourage you to go in and try these settings to see what's available for you. Next, let's label this first. You've created an art brush. Okay, and again, let's create the last type of brush. And that is a pattern brush. Click OK. Again, you see a different set of settings. Similar, but different. You can see right now how this brush travels along the path that you've created. Click OK. Let's try this pattern brush. Notice how it travels along the actual path, and notice how each of these shapes is not just sitting upright, it's rotating along with the path. Double click to go in, and let's just take a look at it. So we have the center and the corner of our shape that creates our pattern. We have it centered the shape. So no matter which way this line is rotating or moving, the shape is going to follow it. The center of the shape will follow along. You can go in and adjust to see, look at this would be interesting. Let's see what auto-centered would look like. And let's leave that and we'll draw a new one. Auto-centered. I do see a difference. It's very slight. These shapes all seem to be exactly the same. They are not skewing, stretching, or reshaping depending on the rotation. Whereas up here, these are all essentially the same shape, but they are different sizes along the path depending on where they're rounded along the line or path. Whereas these do not adjust themselves. Interesting. Okay, let's see what else. What is pompadour? Let's see what happens with pompadour. Oh, it made a whole new. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't think it has anything to do with this original pattern brush. So, we'll go back in. And it has gotten rid of our original pattern. I'm going to just select that and take it down. And there we go. Okay. So, again, I encourage you to go in and play with as many settings as possible. Auto overlap. Let's click and see. Leave strokes. And let's see what auto overlap is going to do. I don't really see any overlap occurring. But I definitely see some skewing depending on the tightness of the curve of the stroke. Interesting. Okay, this is our pattern brush. There's a clear difference between each brush. And let's get. Okay. You now need to create your own sheet or file exploring each of these types of brushes.